According to respected Bonanno crime family mobster Joseph Zicarelli, both Joseph Bonanno and Carmine Galante were greedy when it came to money. Let's check it out. I'm James Gladwish and welcome to OC Shorts, bringing you detailed historical snapshots of the American Mafia and other organised crime. Feel free to subscribe if you like that sort of thing. Today, we're going to take a quick look at a conversation involving powerful Bonanno crime family mobster Joe Zicarelli, where he discusses how Joseph Bonanno and Carmine Galante operated when it came to money. In December 1964, an illegal FBI bug recorded Bonanno crime family mobster Joe Zicarelli speaking with Sam DeCavalcante, the boss of the New Jersey crime family that still bears his name. In 1964, the commission had decided that longtime mob boss Joseph Bonanno was to be removed as the head of his family, after they believed that he had plotted unsuccessfully to have rival mob bosses Carlo Gambino and Tommy Lucchese murdered. At this time, there was a split in the Bonanno crime family between those mobsters who still supported Joseph Bonanno and those who didn't. One of the main factors in the split was Joseph Bonanno's decision to make his inexperienced son, Salvatore Bill Bonanno, the family consigliere. One of the prominent figures in the anti-Bonanno faction was longtime captain Gaspare DiGregorio. Joseph Bonanno and Gaspare DiGregorio had been very close for many decades. DiGregorio had even been best man at Joe Bonanno's wedding in 1931. With Joseph Bonanno removed from power in 1964, an internal Bonanno family election chose DiGregorio as their new boss, a position that some sources suggest he was reluctant to take. The commission supported the choice of DiGregorio, and he became official boss of the family in around January 1965. Before we continue, I just need to take a minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Factor 75. Factor 75 is a meal delivery service with the goal of getting chef-created, never frozen meals straight to your doorstep. The meals are also designed by dietitians to ensure nutritional quality. It's the most convenient way to eat healthy. It's really easy in our day and age to eat too much fast food or resort to ordering it when you need something quick. But Factor meals are even more convenient. And they have proper nutrition. For me personally, I think Factor is really good as a lunch option. I work from home researching and making videos, and trying to have something healthy and quick for lunch can be tough. It's nice to have something to eat that doesn't take too long and is nutritious. It's really nice to avoid the stress of cooking and cleanup, and get back to work quickly. Get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month's orders by using my link. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Now, back to the video. In this fascinating FBI recording from the 30th of December 1964, respected Bonanno family mobster Joe Zicarelli talked with New Jersey boss Sam DeCavalcante about how Joe Bonanno had treated DiGregorio. The transcript of their conversation reads, "Joe, this Gaspar made a lot of sense. I liked the way he spoke last night. I liked the way Angelo spoke. Sam, I'm going to tell you something. Gaspar's nobody's fool. Joe, I know that. Sam, Gaspar's been pushed around with Don Peppino. Joe, he told me that upstairs, in confidence. Sam, you know, I know Gaspar for 30 years. Joe, but Don Peppino himself told me the guy's a hell of a man and... Sam, whispering, the guy was a machine gun right next to Don Peppino. What would Don Peppino have been without Gaspar? Did you know that? This guy had a lot of moxie. Joe, Don Peppino told me this. Sam, well, Why was he robbing him to death? Did you know that Gaspar hasn't got 3 cents? From the conversation between Zicarelli and DeCavalcante, it appears that longtime boss Joseph Don Peppino Bonanno had taken advantage of his old friend Gaspare DiGregorio. And despite DiGregorio being a captain for 30 years, Joe Bonanno had allegedly been getting DiGregorio to kick up too much money, leaving DiGregorio relatively poor. Joseph Zicarelli had been in the crew of the greatly feared Carmine Galante. Before Joe Zicarelli had become a made man in the Bonanno crime family, he had been the subject of a tug-of-war between Genovese mobsters Angelo Gyp DiCarlo and Charlie the Blade Turenne, and Bonanno mobster Carmine Galante, with regards to which crime family Zicarelli was to be inducted into. As documented by the FBI, based on the account of Jewish mobster turned informant Harold K.O. Koenigsberg. An FBI file states, Koenigsberg on 8/4/65 advised SAS Robert V. Walker and Paul G. Durkin that Joe Zicarelli did not become a made guy in La Cosa Nostra until 1955. He explained that most likely he would have been made in an earlier year. However, Gyp DiCarlo, Charlie White Turenne, and Lilo Galante were all attempting to get Zicarelli in their respective crews. After much haggling, Galante finally won out. Koenigsberg added that Zicarelli was actually close to all 3 of these persons. So, back to the conversation between Zicarelli and Sam DeCavalcante. Zicarelli recalls how Joseph Bonanno's practice regarding keeping those underneath him broke was passed on from Bonanno to Carmine Galante. The transcript reads, Joe, well, I'm going to tell you something in strict confidence, my friend. I only learned here of late that Don Peppino is of this nature. But I got my lesson from Lilo, Carmine Galante. And Lilo probably got his lesson from trying to duplicate him. The more work you did, the broker this guy tried to keep you. I did a piece of work one time. Sam, I admire your sense of loyalty, but you let him go too far with you. Zicarelli then tells DeCavalcante a story where his captain, Carmine Galante, summoned him to a meeting at a cafe, despite the fact that Galante was under a lot of surveillance. And then Galante gets into an altercation with 2 police officers. Joe Zicarelli would state, Me, like a dope, I go. He's in the 2nd floor of the Park Lane or Lane's cafeteria or something like that. I went in and there's 2 phone booths there and he's got a cup of coffee in front of him. There's a couple of guys there. He said, What, are you getting too big for your britches? What's the matter? When I give you an order, you get over here. Well, I'm here. What do you want? We'll get to it. This guy made me sit there until about 2 in the morning. This is about 10 o'clock. Then finally, he didn't want me for nothing. He's making a million calls and getting calls. And he spoke to Joey a little bit, and the other thing was all done. So what the hell? I was finished unless he had another contract for me. I don't know. Finally, 2 lousy bulls come in. They said, Identify yourself. They had half a load on. 2 lieutenants from 51st Street Precinct. Why should we? I said. What's the matter? You seem to be having a good time. Why spoil it by tangling with us? We got troubles. So the guy's going along with me. He said something like, Well, you can't have a good time on nothing. So I started to go for my pocket. Lilo turns around. Get out of here, you lousy Irish fuck. Oh boy, they wind up in a scrimmage and the guy pulled a gun. I grabbed the gun. The guy in the joint calls the cops. These guys were plainclothesmen. A lot of cops came in, and to make a long story short, it took me 2 hours to straighten it out, and I spread a couple of $100 around amongst the cops. So finally they said, Okay, you go ahead and we'll let your friend go out after you. I said, No good, you wouldn't do that. Let him go and I'll walk out after him. So after 15 or 20 minutes of this, they let him go. He gets to the door and they won't let him out. You got to have a ticket to get out of the cafeteria. The ticket was laying on the table, so I grabbed it and said, I might as well go. Let's not make another commotion. They'll wonder why you're letting us go. So the sergeant there, a pretty good fellow, pretty smart, I only gave him a $20 bill. He said, I'll walk out with you like I'm taking yous in. Then as soon as we're out, you guys walk ahead. I said, that's a good idea. How much do you think the tab was? 10 cents. 1 cup of coffee. He had the coffee, I didn't. I paid 10 cents and another 10 cents because you got to pay at least 10 cents to get out, whether you got a ticket or not. So I paid 20 cents to get out. When we were in the car, what do you think he said to me? Now, I just got done with something, right? He said, you're too soft. And don't forget, at this point, he'd identified himself. I didn't. They still don't know who I am, right? I said, we're in the car, we're away. And what did it cost to humble myself? I conned myself around nice. We're here. You're going to fight with a guy and it'll cost you $20,000. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts about Zicarelli and DeCavalcante's conversation about Joe Bonanno and Carmine Galante. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching.